In less than 2 hours, Russian state prosecutors are going to demand that Alexei Navalny, the opposition leader, be jailed for 3.5 years. It all concerns a parole that he was out on a previous conviction. He says the charges are trumped up and that, for example, he left the country to go to Germany because, of course, you may remember, he was treated after being poisoned by a nerve agent, allegedly at the hands of the Russian state. Since he's voluntarily returned to Moscow, his immediate arrest on his return has led to protests in the streets, the strength and continuation of which have surprised many observers. Now, more than 100 Russian academics, sort of internationally known, have signed an open letter demanding to stop the crackdown and release Navalny. One of those is the Professor of Applied Mathematics at the University of Cambridge, Natalia Berlov, who joins us now. Professor, welcome to the programme.
Good morning.
Your intervention will surely just be dismissed by the Kremlin as typical foreign interference paid for by the US. How do you answer that?
We are not naive. We understand that this letter is just a drop in the sea, and it won't make that much of a difference. But this is the situation when simply we couldn't be silent. When injustice of that proportion and that scale happens, being silent means being an accomplice.
Okay, a noble position, and I wonder what brought it around particularly, because we've heard from many people, interestingly, who've been out demonstrating at personal risk that they haven't demonstrated before. They're not necessarily supporters of Mr. Navalny. For you, is this about Mr. Navalny or something bigger now?
No, it's not about Navalny. Even more so, I would say that if Navalny's name were on the ballot for presidential election, not many of us would vote for him, perhaps. However, this is irrelevant now as he's in prison and there is a violation of human rights and there are brutality on the streets.
And I wonder, in terms of the influence that you may or may not have in the Kremlin, that's one thing. But do you think that as intellectuals there is respect for your call? I mean, that seems quite old school, quite sort of back to the Soviet days, the dissidents. One thinks of the great Sakharov, physicist and campaigner for human rights. Is this still a peculiarly Russian thing that intellectuals hope to be listened to?
We hope so. Definitely hope so. This was the aim of the letter, because we are calling for a dialogue. We're calling for a peaceful resolution of the tension that is being built, because the lack of official investigation into the poisoning of Alexei Navalny, the use of the chemical weapon, his detention and arrest, that all fueled civil unrest and all destabilize the situation in the country, and situation is very precarious at the moment. So we expressed our concern and we suggested that they have to be a dialogue, even if the academics are not supporting authority, not supporting government. If educated people cannot see the logic in the government actions, they have to be explanation. They have to be a dialogue.
And do you see any way out of this? I mean, particularly bearing in mind Mr. Navalny is about to appear in court. If he is sent to prison, one assumes that the protests continue. But with what end? Unfortunately, this is always the blunt question we come up against. What can demonstrations actually achieve?
This is a tough question to answer. I don't know. I believe that there are ways to de-escalate the tension and restore the human rights. I don't know what can be done now. It's a very difficult situation. There is a strong polarization of the society, probably unprecedented polarization in the society. And as the tension is being built, the spring, becoming more and more tight, and it may explode. And we definitely don't want that to happen.
Many, many thanks indeed for joining us, Professor Natalia Berlov, who's Professor of Maths at the University of Cambridge, but as importantly, one of the signatories, for our purposes, the signatories of the letter from Russian academics demanding to stop the crackdown and release Navalny, who appears in court in under 2 hours' time.
Newsday, BBC World Service, here are the